Once upon a time, TriStar Pictures was making a Godzilla reboot. Disney saw this and decided, hey, we gotta get a piece of this action. And they made a remake of Mighty Joe Young. Warner Brothers saw the oncoming fight and decided to capitalize and steal the anime film carpet right from under Disney's feet, and made an anime version of the giant monster granddaddy, King Kong. And then all three came out and nobody liked any of them. The end.
Coming to video, The Mighty Kong, the kid-friendly animated musical version of the classic story of King Kong.
A truly epic film. It's got laughter, it's got tears, mystery, and fears.
1998 sure was an eventful year for monster movies, at least. Godzilla 98 is very well documented. I won't even bother touching that one. And as far as the Mighty Joe Young remake goes, I'm sure most people are at least familiar with the concept. But for today, I decided to take a look at Warner Brothers' attempt at cashing in on that year's kaiju craze. And yes, it was a deliberate attempt at competing with Godzilla and Joe. In preparation for the film being released, promotional material sent out to retailers played up this angle. They wanted this thing to be huge, and what better way to ensure your anime and movie success than to make it a direct-to-video release? Well, at least I can understand why this was made, aside from the corporate,
we've got to have money.
A child-oriented King Kong makes sense. It's a story everyone knows, and having a version out for kids to easily view and gravitate towards is a good idea. And for everyone else, it's only an hour and 10 minutes long, so at least it's over before the existential dread of your life going nowhere and being alone forever kicks in. On the surface, everything checks out at least. Well-known story, good premise, well-known actors as the two main characters. We got Dudley Moore as Carl Denham and Jodie Benson as in Ariel from The Little Mermaid as Andero. Also, that Disney comparison I made earlier is pretty valid because not only does this feature one of Disney's biggest voices, it's a musical in the vein of a Disney Renaissance or Golden Age film. And to add further fuel to that fire, they got the Sherman Brothers to do the songs. The Sherman Brothers. You know, Mary Poppins Sherman Brothers, The Jungle Book Sherman Brothers. All this sounds like a recipe for a great anime version of one of the greatest films of all time. So how did they do? Look, would I even be talking about this if it was good? Now, I want to get this out of the way. For the sake of not being a dead horse, I'm going to try not to compare every single little action to the original 1933 film. Let's face it, of course, it would never live up to that pedestal. And frankly, I doubt they were even trying to do that. This was clearly just trying to do a kid-friendly version of something people know. The film begins by showing us a Kong sacrifice. A sacrifice in not only the blood version, but also in quality animation. I hope you like that shot of Kong, because we won't be seeing another shot of him for quite a while. Cut to New York, and we get to witness a stage show produced by the one and only Carl Denham. Or as he'll be referred to in this version, CB Denham.
What's the hottest show on earth? Where do you get your money's worth? CB Denham's terrifying, mystifying, wild animal folly.
I will say, I think this opening does a good job establishing who Denham is. In other versions, all we know is, yeah, I gotta go to that island and film my big monkey picture. Here we see the full scope of his work. Stage performances, film, cartoons, the whole shebang. In other iterations, he makes movies, leaves town, and comes back with a giant monkey for some reason. Kind of a big career shift there, huh? That's like if you went to college for 4 years to earn a degree in computer science, and then make videos on the internet about giant monsters instead. Wait. After the show, we see Denham, voiced by Dudley Moore, and his assistant, ready to end the show and move on to the next project. A big movie. Just one problem.
Any romance in your new picture? Hey, CB?
Yeah, who's gonna be your star?
My star? Who is my star? Did we hear from Garbo yet?
Oh yeah, you bet, CB.
What did she say?
Drop dead.
But then, out of the blue, we see Ann Darrow, voiced by Jodie Benson, attempting to steal an apple.
Roscoe, at last our search is over. There's our star.
Are they really about to hire someone as the lead in their movie just because she can scream? Okay, fair point. The next scene, the second song of the night, is CB doing his best to convince Ann to be the star of his movie. What is the movie, you ask? Well, from the sound of it, doesn't sound like he knows either.
A truly epic film that's greater than any film you can recall. It's got laughter, it's got tears, mystery, and fears. It's majestic, but it's intimate.
It's like a 4th grader giving a book report on a book he didn't read. Only this time, it's from the guy who wrote the damn book in the first place.
It's got drama, it's got heart, it's got terror, but it's art.
It sounds wonderful, but...
Really, Anne? You're about to turn out being a movie star. 5 minutes ago, you couldn't even afford an apple. So, with an actress in tow, and from the looks of it, the only cast member, the ship begins preparations for the voyage. On board, we meet Ricky and his pet monkey, and in a sequence right out of the room, they introduce themselves to Anne.
Wow! You scared the life out of me!
Hey, is he bothering you, lady?
Oh no, not a bit.
He's Chips. I'm Ricky. Are you with us on the Queen, miss?
Well, I was. But this old tub kinda scares me. Oh, but now that I've got 2 great new pals for shipmates.
Yeah, this whole scene has a really awkward pacing. Anne steps into an active work site, suddenly everything goes wrong. Jack, who never introduces himself to anyone we only know because Ricky tells us who he is later, jumps into action and saves Anne from getting crushed.
How can I possibly thank you?
I'll tell you how to thank me. Go to your cabin and stay there. And you, get that monkey out of my sight before I have him keel hauled.
Of all the ill-mannered, foul-tempered, bullying people I've ever met, he takes the cake! Do you believe the way he treated me? I didn't do anything to deserve that. Not one thing at all.
Dude, you're responsible for the destruction of like half of the cargo. All he did was tell you to go to your room, which is what you were already going to do. He was way meaner to the monkey. Now that she's all squared away, Anne begins to have second thoughts about showbiz.
I'm having second thoughts about this whole deal.
What? You don't want to be a movie star?
Second thoughts that are quickly let go when common sense kicks in.
What have I got to lose? 8 hours ago, I was an apple thief.
No shit, Sherlock.
It doesn't take much to convince anyone of anything in this movie, does it? For example, the next scene shows the sailors talking about a previous voyage that ended up at Skull Island and how most of the crew went missing when leaving the ship. So naturally, none of them want to go back. Spoiler, they're going back. And what tactic does CB use to convince them to stick with him?
And your names will be emblazoned on the credit roll.
This man really just paid everyone an exposure, and they're completely okay with it. This is not the kind of reaction I expect from them after the horror story they just told us.
We dragged him on board.
Giant monkey guy.
He raved and ranted about a giant monkey god, about human sacrifices, and all that jazz. Then, the poor guy just up and died on us. Dead as a mackerel.
So, what did he die from anyway? Was it lack of budget? Okay, but let's back up. That's a while from now. Ricky gets seasick due to the storm, so Anne covers for him to deliver the food to the higher-ups. As I want to point out, Denim is supposed to be the quote-unquote villain of the Kong story, yet the Denim here is actually a pretty nice guy. Jack goes off on how, "Yeah, women, am I right, lads?" And Denim just shrugs it off saying, "Oh, I say, it's the 19th century, old chap." In fact, this Denim is the least Denim of them all. He's actually kind of a bumbling doof, not knowing the movie he's making, hiring a star on the spot, bullshitting plot elements on the fly, yet he's never really a villain. He means well, he's just way over his head. While we're discussing the characters, let's talk about Jack. I know in the original, Jack similarly didn't think Anne should be on the voyage, but he wasn't actively antagonizing her. This Jack is one note for the duration of the trip until the part where he has to fall in love with her. And we'll get there, the way they handle that transition is amazing. Also, this brings up the quality of voice acting.
What?
It's great. It's not particularly good voice acting, but for a direct-to-video film, it's passable. Though I will say the lip syncing is pretty rough. Sometimes the mouths don't even move when they're talking. This is likely a result of them adding in extra words and sounds just to keep younger audiences engaged, because, God forbid, we have a quiet moment. So Anne delivers the food, Jack mouths off, and shenanigans ensue.
I'll show you, Jinx!
That's so... I'd say there's a fly in my soup, but fly is the last thing Jack is. We now come to the iconic first day of filming, and remember when I said Denim has no idea what movie he's making? Yeah, watch this.
Now, you are a Polynesian princess. Your kingdom, a beautiful, magical, tropical island called... give me an island, Oscar.
Greenland?
Too cold.
Papaliali!
Papaliali. Ah, there you are. Dolly in for a close-up of Princess Dolly of Papaliali. I love it!
Yeah, of the two animated musicals about a Polynesian princess, this wouldn't even be my third pick. This is also the most animated musical this film gets. All the other songs have rather tame setups and animation. Aside from the opening number about Denim, they're all pretty basic. There's no crazy visuals or unique sets. Oh no, Denim has to convince the crew to stay. He's just singing at them from the upper deck. Denim has to convince Anne to join the movie. He's just dancing around the restaurant. Even the reprise of the first line I do during the Kong show is tame compared to the first version. And while this sequence is probably the most Disney we'll get here, everyone is animated the same way the rest of the film is animated. The animation isn't as fluid as you expect during a musical sequence. There's no energy to the music sections. Speaking of which, music. The songs themselves are... okay.
She's sweet, Dolly of Papaliali. Sweet, sweet, Dolly of Papaliali.
They're good enough to listen to during the movie itself, but nothing I'd find myself humming after the fact. They have no staying power. Definitely not the best work by the Sherman brothers, and that's saying a lot considering their previous work.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Ooby-doo, I wanna be like you.
A heffalump or woozle is very confusal. A heffalump or woozle's very sly. Sly.
Mystic spell!
After filming the Dolly Apapali scene, Captain Englehorn tries to get Denim to turn back as 6 weeks afloat with no real end goal doesn't lend itself well to morale.
You, sir, are a madman.
Yeah, that's what they say about all of us.
All of you?
Of course, you've heard the old saying. Columbus, Galileo, Edison, Denim, madmen all.
I don't know about those other fellas, but I'm pretty sure about you, Denim.
Well, that's okay. Apparently a lot of Americans don't really know much about Columbus either. So it's left up to a vote by the crew. But of course, naturally, Denim wins out because, well, otherwise there'd be no movie. As the ship nears Skull Island, they get enveloped by a mysterious fog. The very same those sailors were worried about earlier.
Can't see a blasted thing.
Land ho!
Well, somebody here is blind. They then land on the beach and... oh, come on! I want you guys to take a good look at this scene. Are those... those look like stock photos they slapped the character cells on top of. They do not blend at all. I didn't even know it was possible to use real screen projection on a cartoon, but these guys found a way. Truly, this is the greatest film adaptation of all time. Step aside Jekyll and Hyde, there's a new king in town. His name is C.B. Denim. The crew begins their trek into the dangerous jungle of Skull Island, where they run into the local tribe doing a human sacrifice. Again, and in broad daylight. Any other Denim would film that and make a mint, but Dudley Do-Right over here tries to play hero. Well, at least his assistant plays hero. You had one job.
He's 2,000 miles away, moving at 2 miles a day. What do I do? What do I do?
Olu. I Donny. Boss fella, go long pay.
It is never explained how Englehorn knows their language and is never referenced again. So the stereotypical 90s cartoon tribe spots Anne in the crowd and simply has to have her for the sacrifice. Obviously this is preposterous, so they run away back to the ship. That's probably nothing. Now, instead of using common sense and getting out of there, the crew's plan is to just go to the other side of the island.
Maybe we should have another go at those native chaps. They're probably quite decent fellows beneath it all.
No.
Hoi! Hoi! Hoi!
So let's say we catch up with Jack and Anne.
Straight up there, Anne. That's the Southern Cross. In these parts, the cross is a sailor's best friend. When I stand watch, I look at that mighty constellation, and I know exactly where I stand in the universe. I'm giving too much and saying nothing.
Yeah, that's all we get. A shot of Jack giving Anne his jacket to warm up, and now they're in love. This is also simultaneously the most visually interesting musical sequence, and also the worst animated sequence. Their lips aren't moving at all. And while heart fireworks are cool in theory, this comes off more of them not having the budget to do their Beauty and the Beast moment, and just stuck a bunch of abstract imaging in it because it was easy to animate.
As I love you.
Oh, for God's sake, Anne, throw a punch. Oh, by the way, Ricky's still in the movie. Haven't seen you in a while. Ricky reports to everyone else that Anne is no longer on the ship and they can't leave without her. So they storm the island to find her, but they're too late. The sacrifice has begun. We are 42 minutes into the movie and Kong finally shows up. As a Godzilla fan, normally I wouldn't complain about this, but there's only about 20 minutes left in this movie. We're over halfway through and the main title character has only just now shown up. I love the Wikipedia article for this movie because it claims that Kong looks more like the ape from Mighty Peking Man instead of actual King Kong. I mean, look at this unit. I love how Kong is this huge, imposing figure, and all he can muster is a 4-pack of Stewarts. So Kong does as Kong does, grabs Anne and runs off into the jungle with the daring crew of the Java Queen to go after her, and also Ricky.
We were never actually ordered to stay aboard. And Mr. Driscoll always says, if nobody gives you an order, just pitch in wherever you can.
I mean, yeah, I guess asking for permission is way harder than getting yourself fucking killed, isn't it? Okay, so I want you guys to do me a favor. What are some of your favorite moments from King Kong history pre-2005? You're probably thinking of the Empire State Building climb, the Titan Boa, the T-Rex, the log bridge, getting drunk off berry juice, classic stuff. And most of that stuff happens on Skull Island, since of course Skull Island is the main set piece of the movie. So we can expect our daring crew and Kong to get a lot of action here. It's all over in about 5 minutes.
What?
Yeah, the island is the shortest part of the movie. They're on the boat for about half the runtime. They get there, and after 15 minutes of exposition, we're back in New York. And the action here really isn't that great. The humans never really react to seeing the dinosaurs, it just kinda happens. And they just throw everything at Kong right away. So each fight is like 15 seconds of action, meaning it's all done way too soon. He literally only throws like 2 punches at the T-Rex and it goes down. To give them some credit, they do give some shout-out to the 76 film. He fights the Titan Boa the same way he does in the actual movie, and they redo the waterfall sequence. And then they throw 2 gas bombs at him, and he falls over. For the record, that's not how gas bombs work. Also, the island is exploding now. I'd like to imagine what would happen if they never went to Skull Island in the first place. Everyone would have died, including Kong. Is getting melted by boiling lava better or worse than biplanes? So despite the island literally burning and falling apart, the crew uses the almighty power of fade to black to transport Kong to New York. I mean, yeah, they did the same thing in basically every other version of the story, but in all of those, the island wasn't literally on fire. How did you have the time to do this?
You're on the air.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. Let's go to press. Dateline, New York City. What Broadway producer sold out opening night without revealing one word about his new show? An import from the South Seas yet? Open letter to C.B. Denham. This better be big.
You know, bits like that I like. You never see anyone mention how Denham somehow managed to sneak a baby kaiju into one of the most populated areas in America in the dead of winter, keep him there for a couple of months, and manage to completely sell out a Broadway theater without telling anyone what the hell your show is. C.B. Denham is the apple of his time. The show seems to be going off without a hitch until, obviously, Kong comes into play.
The one, the only, the mighty Kong! Keep your seats, keep your seats.
Just like the original, the lights and sound of the cameras going off pisses him off, and when he believes Ann is in danger, he breaks out of his chains and begins to go on a rampage. And despite the medium of animation being perfectly suited to balls-to-the-wall action sequences and destruction, this is probably the tamest Kong rampage you'll ever see. Yes, I know, aiming for kids. The same kids who are definitely watching this movie to see Ann Darrow deliver soup to the Coast Guard. Why do kids watch Godzilla movies? So they can see a big lizard obliterate an entire city and kill evil space demons. Why do kids watch King Kong? Because they want to see a gorilla beat up some dinosaurs and knock over skyscrapers. Rugrats is a show about literal babies, and one of its most iconic characters is a big green dinosaur constantly seen against a burning city. Go nuts with the action, guys. I'm sure plenty of kids watched Godzilla 98 when it came out, and have you seen the merchandising? Kong's scaling is also pretty weird. Some shots make him look huge, towering over buildings, while others make him look smaller than a giraffe. It's weird. And now for the grand finale. With Ann in tow, he makes his way to the Empire State Building for the anime version of one of the most iconic scenes in film history. And like everything else here, it's pretty underwhelming. Being a kid's film, the planes can't really shoot at him, so Denham comes up with the greatest plan in history.
Look at this net that I just found. When I say go, be ready to throw. Go!
Despite Kong trashing the city moments ago, everyone seems to like Kong for some reason. They don't want to hurt him, and they just want him to leave. And on the subject of everyone caring about the wrong things, Ann does not seem at all worried about him, and Kong just doesn't seem to give a fuck about Ann. He doesn't even notice that she falls. What was even the point of going back to pick her up? You guys know how this goes. Jack saves Ann, Kong falls off the building, and Beauty killed the Beast. Except lol JK, not really, he's still alive. Merry Christmas, everybody.
All's well that ends well, right?
So, what are you gonna do with Kong now? Okay, roll credits, that's fine. So, that's the Mighty Kong. And, yeah, it's not great. It's certainly not as terrible as everyone has made it out to be over the years. I mean, it's not the worst Kong film. I mean, guys, come on. I could see children liking it, but young children. The songs aren't strong enough for the typical Disney crowd to get behind, and I think some kids will be bored with the lack of exciting Kong moments. Honestly, I think most kids would get more enjoyment out of the original film, or even Kong Skull Island. If you're curious about the movie, it did recently become available to watch on Amazon, and it's only about an hour, so if you have Prime, go ape. But otherwise, there's way better options for big ape movies and animated musicals. I will say though, a King Kong musical isn't a bad idea. It's interesting. I mean, hey, maybe someday someone else can try to get. Oh, damn. Hey, if you guys liked the video, show support by leaving a like and comment. This was the first time I would try doing a proper review video, so I'm still working on the style and everything. So, want more content like this? Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.